Hey guys, I'm gonna do a live stream here on YouTube. I was trying to live stream on my Instagram and having nothing but problems, so I'm gonna switch over to YouTube. And I don't know why this is popping into OBS chat. OBS is trying to be clever, but it's just being annoying. Don't show again. Okay. So yeah, thanks for tuning in if you're watching. I have been wiring up this joystick. I did the ground wire on Instagram live stream yesterday, and today I'm going to be doing the signal wires. I had already started doing the button, first button here, and now I am working on the second button. Let me know if everything looks good and it's working alright for you guys. I'm actually going to share this on my Facebook page. Facebook. So, no, I want to do it on my page. How do I post to my page? Share on a page you manage. On page, yes. Okay. Alright, so I'm posting that on Facebook. Okay. Instagram followers, if you follow my my YouTube, you'll see it here. But yeah, so I'm gonna be wiring this up on stream, and then if I have time, I'm gonna do a test to make sure everything's working. Not really thrilled with how this crimp came out. Need a another pair of pliers. These guys, rusty pliers. See if I can't fix these crimp. Got twisted somehow. Yeah, if anybody's watching, throw a comment down below. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, so I'm still learning how to get good crimps. It's a learning process. And to deal with the not so great crimps, I've been using solder. I've been soldering these wires. There we go. Just a little solder in there. Oop. Am I dropping frames? Looks alright. I'm recording this as well, and I will likely upload it after the fact. I don't really like the quality of the stream recording built into YouTube is not great. So I'm gonna do this. Come on. I need my helping hands over here, but they just take up too much space. So I don't mess with them too much. Not my finest work. I'm not a fan of crimps of these disconnects. I'd rather I honestly would rather just solder right to the button, but then you couldn't remove the button. So this is how it goes. These guys are a hassle. Or feed these through. Go like that. Try to get like a nice shot there for you guys so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, see, no one watches on here. My Instagram is a little more poppin'. But I also have 10,000 followers and only, what, 1,000 on here? 1,000 something. Alright, so there's a second button. So let's put that in there. Alright, I'm going to cut this down. There's button number 2. So I've been thinking about putting some sort of flip or something right around where this finger is inside to hold these wires sort of down against the underside of the control panel, just to keep everything tidy, because these wires, they keep wanting to jump up, and if they come up to here, to this wall here, it's too bright, come up to this wall, they will get hurt by the cover. Oh, what is it saying? Something about the audio stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. That's not true. Can you integrate an FPGA? Hi Donnie. I could. I don't have one. I personally can't really afford an FPGA, and I guess they're kind of hard to come by. There's a shortage with all things related to silicone these days. Silicon. I mean, I get a lot of people requesting that, but I don't have one, so I can't really design around it because I don't have one. I don't see why not. I just assumed that people preferred using FPGAs with CRTs, and since I'm using an LCD, it's like I feel like an FPGA is sort of overkill. I mean, emulation works pretty well. I guess like FPGA is sort of the hype right now in the retro gaming community, but honestly emulation is just as good. So I haven't put like a priority on developing around an FPGA because you're kind of limited by what systems you can run, and there's like a lot of hoops you have to jump through. So I like to try to keep my builds as simple as possible, where an FPGA is sort of the opposite of simple in terms of playing games. Where do I want this wire to go? So, like here. Let's do like that. That's pretty good. So, right around here. This has a computer in it. Here, I'll show you. Kind of hard to. The camera that I'm using, the camera setup I'm using, it's a little tricky to change things, but I will zoom out so you can see. So when this stays still for like 20 seconds, if it will, it might just fall. Okay. So this build is the Astro City that I've been designing, or Astro City bar top. and the screen is rotatable. It's in vertical right now, but to access the computer, you go like this. You press on these corners, and then it's held in with magnets, and you pull it out. And then inside is a computer. That's a mini ITX, micro ITX, mini ITX. I forget what form factor. But there's, under this grill here is AMD Ryzen. Oh, hey Blackbeard Jay. Oh, cool. Yeah, I was streaming on Instagram the last few times, but I feel like I'm gonna just have a better experience on YouTube. And this might be a little out of focus. Let me try to. Oh, that's not bad. So, yeah. So there's a power supply down here. A full Windows AMD Ryzen build inside here. And I mean, I have it designed where a Raspberry Pi could fit inside as well, if the customer wanted. And obviously an FPGA could fit in here, if this whole computer can fit. And then in the back is a cooling fan and like the I/O. Also audio. So here's your volume. Here's a power button for the computer. Here's a fan to cool the case. USB 3 ports. This is a display port to hook up like an external monitor if you want a game. Thanks, Donnie. Yeah, I've been working on it for quite a while. You can see behind me, this one's actually all put together. It hasn't been painted and there's no decals on it or anything, but like if I plug this in and turn it on, it'll boot up and you can play games on it. It's ready to go, essentially. I'm just wiring up this one now on stream, this other one. And then the back of the screen assembly. So this is the driver board. This gets an HDMI from the computer, and then this is the button board to control like the screen settings and the display and brightness and contrast, stuff like that. And then you got your magnets here. This is what holds it in place inside the case. So put this back on stream here, and then this isn't plugged in right now to the computer, but that's because I'm just working. I'm not really trying to run the software. So that you kind of like let it rest, and then once it's rest, you see it's proud. Then you press on the corners here, and the latches grab it, and now it's in. Now it's in. The magnets are really strong. It's not going anywhere. And then this guy, when it's all done, has USB 3 or USB-C, sorry, and that goes. There's a plug on the inside from the computer to plug it in, and that goes here with a ball top. And this will have a different control panel on it. This is just temporary. But yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to wiring here. Let's zoom back in. I've got a camera up here. See if I can get it good. Get that on frame better. I wish I had better light. This is also out of focus now. I need a better camera. I have another camera, I just don't like using it. There we go. This Canon that I'm using works pretty well. Thanks, Blackbeard. Yeah, I try to be next level. My prices certainly reflect that. So did I trim this already? No, I guess that's, yeah, I guess that's trimmed. Yeah, let's do... Well, I can kind of see why the other one got... Some of these connectors are not great. I need to order more of these crimpers because I'm not even sure that these are the right thing. I feel like they're not, because they keep sort of screwing up these connectors. Oh right, I need to put the boot on first. Where are my boots? Where are the boots? So I'm using these guys because they're for the right angle. Get those on camera. Get those guys. Whoa, dropping like flies. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, I wish Instagram was better about live streaming, because I would prefer to live stream through Instagram if it didn't suck. Yeah, this is kind of like not great. Good enough. Oh, that was better. I just have to keep the connector like really centered in the crimper. I don't need this magnifying lens on here. Let's remove this thing. It's just strenuous. And then I'm using this little El Cheapo helping hands because it's doesn't take up a lot of space on the stream. Huh. My microphone is picking up my furnace. Yeah, my IG following. Well, Instagram, you know, as much as I dislike Facebook, Instagram was a lot better before Facebook owned it. So that's sort of how I built my following. And now that Facebook owns it, my following count has sort of been stagnant, because Facebook is all about money, where Instagram used to be its own company and it wasn't all about money. And I didn't do this first, but yeah, so despite Facebook kind of ruining it, it's still got a bigger audience than any of my other social media accounts. I don't really post a lot on YouTube. I could post more, but it's a lot more work because I'm making videos. You can actually live stream for 4 hours on Instagram, but the problem is there's no way to do it. They don't have a functionality built in for computer live streaming, only for live streaming with a phone or like a tablet, I guess. And it sucks because my phone's not great and it's kind of limiting, and there's a lot of factors that make it not great. I can't use OBS, but then there's like a third-party program that I use that basically tricks Instagram into thinking I'm logged in with a phone from my computer, and it works kind of okay, but not great. So I'm just gonna do YouTube. If people on Instagram really want to watch, they can watch on YouTube. I've been trying to get people over from my Instagram to my YouTube, but I feel like, you know, people are kind of lazy or distracted, so it's a lot of effort to get them to subscribe to my YouTube. would be nice, because then I could start making some cash off of YouTube, which would be good. Have a little extra money to pay for building these silly things. So I'm on the white wire, so now I'm gonna do orange. Yeah, so we'll sort of push that down in here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jay, I can do it with some third-party software, but it's kind of buggy, and I can't monitor how many people are watching or if it's even working, and I'd have to make a separate Instagram account to watch myself to make sure the stream was working right. It's really kind of a pain in the butt, and I just tried a little while ago actually, and as far as I could tell it wasn't working because no one was commenting, and so I took the stream down, and that's when I switched over to doing a YouTube stream today. I have a Discord. I don't really like using Discord that much. I could live stream on there, I guess. But that's kind of buggy as well. And they want you to pay for that. Like, for higher quality live streams, you have to pay for that through, like, I don't know what the OBS Plus or whatever their premium OBS is. And I was like, I'm not paying for that. So YouTube is really the best option for me for live streaming. Thanks, Esteban. I think I'm saying that right. Esteban Cruz. This is kind of a hassle, feeding this wire through here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to use my other camera because it's, I don't know, it's a pain in the butt, but it does do higher quality video, and it has a better autofocus. This camera doesn't really autofocus, so that's why I keep manually adjusting it, which is not ideal when you're streaming, but it works, I guess. Oh, nice. Thanks, thanks, Jay. Yeah, I'm disorganized. I probably should have made a heads up on my Instagram that I was going live on YouTube. But I don't know. I was not really planning to do YouTube today. Like I said earlier, I was going to do it on IG, but it wasn't working. So I just sort of quickly moved over to streaming on here and didn't really put much thought into promoting it. Yeah, these crimpers they're not bad. Like, I'm not getting a terrible crimp here. Can't really see that on stream because of the focus. I wonder if what if I focus like this? Oh. This is really disorientating. There it is. So that's not a terrible crimp. I think I had a button mapped to zoom. No? Whoops. I messed that up. I don't really have much experience with the Ambernick consoles. I think that's how you say it. They do a lot of handhelds, I guess. I think they run on Android. I've been meaning to build an Android-based console. It's just, I'm not super keen on Android software, and I don't know how to develop for Android or anything like that. So I've just been doing everything around Linux and Windows. A Raspberry Pi running on Linux, or RetroPie running is basically a modified Linux distribution. and the front end I use, Attract Mode, is written for Linux and Windows, so it works for using Raspberry Pis or computers, so I haven't messed with Android too much because of it. Alright, this guy. Yeah, Discord is, I mean, I have Discord sometimes when I want to chat with like 2 or 3 gamer friends who refuse to use any other social media. But other than that, I don't really use it. You know, I had another friend who has like who plays a lot of MMOs, so he uses it for that. But even still, it's like, it's just like another app to have running in the background that just uses up memory on your computer or whatever, so I don't really mess with it too much. I mean, if I had more money, I would buy every emulation console there is and mess with it. I was doing that for a while, and then I was like, I can't blow all my money on these things. I end up spending more money just buying tools, stuff like this, these crimpers. This is where all my money goes. Building arcade machines, that's where all my money goes. I don't really have money to mess around with other hardware. I don't even have a PS5. I tried sort of to get one, and then I was over it. It's not like there's any games I have to play on PS5. This is really a pain in the ass. Getting these rubber boots on here. I don't know, whoever designed these connectors, the rubber boot thing was like an afterthought. I'm gonna break it. Yeah, see, I game a lot on consoles, and you can chat right on PlayStation, so there's kind of no need for Discord, and right, a lot of games have in-game chat. I mean, I guess, like I said, if you're playing an MMO and the chat in the game kind of sucks, Discord makes sense if you're trying to organize with a group of people, but otherwise it's like kind of unnecessary. I was doing some, like when I was playing Genshin with my friend, we would use Discord to voice chat. Yeah, this is a hassle. This one's really not going on. There it is. Okay. That is way more effort than it should be. I need a button to zoom. I saw it in the, I'm using like a custom firmware for my camera, and there's a way you can map a button on the camera to be a zoom button. Otherwise I have to manually zoom the lens, which is not great. Way better than PS5, I guess. I mean, kind of like comparing apples to oranges, but if you're into retro gaming and arcade games, I guess my builds are better than a PS5. I mean, my gaming PC upstairs is pretty decent, so I mean, it doesn't run things quite as well as a PS5, obviously, but it does run better than my PS4, so I don't have like a super big need to have like a next-gen console yet. I do want one eventually. Yeah, the connectors are a real hassle. They're no fun. They are no fun. So I'm gonna do this one next, down here. This guy, right here. It's really hard to cap. This is like, not mini, but it's small. You can see my hand. That's a small joystick. These are 24mm buttons. This is a full-size Sanwa joystick. Yeah, when I ordered these right angle connectors online, I wanted to get something better, but this is like literally the only thing I could find. Uh, they're not very common. These straight ones are the common ones, but there is not enough depth inside the case, so the right angle ones are necessary. Yeah, this is probably, I think this is probably as powerful as the Steam Deck, this build in here. I think it might be a little more powerful, because it's got a Ryzen, like a desktop processor, and obviously more storage. It's 2 terabytes of storage, and then 32 gigs of RAM, which is kind of overkill, but I mean the customer is paying for it. So I figured go big or go home. You know, there's no GPU in here. It's an onboard GPU or APU, I don't know what you call it. The processor handles the graphics. Let's do this. Yeah, these right angle ones are pretty cool. Not very common, like I said, so I had a hard time finding them. I spent a while. I mean, I could raise up the problem with the joystick depth, so I could make the joystick taller, but it starts to look funny. And then the whole arcade machine has to be taller. And then it starts like getting this weird proportion. I think bar tops look better when they have like kind of a low profile look. Yeah, this computer build's a little overkill. But, I mean, if you want to run, you know, a modern game on here, this will run. I've tested Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7. I've tested all the modern fighting games on here, and they don't run at like max settings, but most of them run anywhere from like low to medium at 60 FPS. So that's, you know, and the screen's kind of small, so you don't have to run like 4K resolution. The screen's native resolution is 1024 by 768. Alright, let me put this connector on here before I go crazy. I'm trying to think like if maybe it's easier to crimp it first and then put this on. It might be. Let's try it. Yeah, Street Fighter V will run. I mean, fighting games are pretty well optimized to run on lower spec hardware because in a fighting game it's less about the graphics and more about the frame rate, obviously, and input lag or input delay. You want to minimize any of that. I'm going to solder this one just like I have been the other ones. Kind of overkill, but make sure I have a good connection. That's pretty good. I'm going to discourage people from taking this thing apart. I'm going to be like, take the joystick apart at your own risk, because some of the wiring I think it could handle someone taking it apart and working on it if they knew what they were doing, but if they didn't know what they were doing, they would probably break these connections. Yeah, I guess this is kind of the way to do it. Feed it in this way. You have to be really careful when you're pushing this connector through the boot. It's annoying. See that? The straight ones are way easier. Like, I don't know if these boots are not. They're the boot. When I ordered these connectors, it came with the boots, but I almost feel like these boots are not designed for these connectors. It was like an afterthought, because it's so hard to do. I can't imagine anyone in like a production environment using these boots. Like I'm being very careful with these pliers not to damage the connector or the wire. There's one. A lot of work. Yeah, these are all sold actually. This one's already sold, and the one behind me. I don't know if you can see on my. This is already sold as well. Both of these are already sold. I'm just finishing them. Like once these are almost done, or done, I guess I should say. I mean, they're pretty much done. The computer's already installed in this one that I'm working on right now. The one it's back here. The computer's already in there. This was kind of the last thing I had to do assembly-wise before painting it. What was I gonna go with that? But once these two are like 90% done, I will, I guess, sell another one, another pre-order. Alright, one more of these annoying right angle buttons. So we got the green wire. Are we gonna be short on wires here? What happened? Am I missing a connector? Oh, that's right. I added a button. Oh wow. So I'll have to add another connector. That's not a big deal. I'll just hardwire that. I have enough pins on this USB encoder board that I'm using. Well, this is a Raspberry Pi Pico, and I have it programmed to work as a joystick controller. But it's got enough pins. I could add, I could add like 20 buttons or 24 buttons if you needed such a thing. All right, I guess I'll do this blue one here. Yeah, it's basically my full-time job, if you could call it that. I don't have another job. This is what I do. I don't really have the energy to have a full-time job. I don't work on these 8 hours a day or anything crazy like that. I try to put in like 4 or 5 hours a day. Some days I don't work. But I have a printer going in the background. I usually have a couple printers running, and they're sort of like, they're my workers, they're my robots. So they work when I'm not feeling up to the task. Thanks, man. The wires, I try to organize. I mean, I'm not worried about how it looks as much as I am just keeping wires tidy, because when you're putting this all together, the more tidy the wires, the easier it is to put together. So the tidiness has a function. Yeah, these connectors are all a little bent somehow. I didn't do that. It came bent from the factory. wherever I ordered them from. Need to straighten it out a little bit before I crimp it. Yeah, I mean, if I did this 8 hours a day, I could definitely make a pretty solid living off of it. As it is, I don't work that much on this stuff, so I'm not selling these that often. I sell one every few months, 2 or 3 months, and they do sell for a lot, but obviously you can't really live off of that for too long, because I have to buy a lot of parts and the computer stuff, and then tools. I'm always buying more tools. I need to buy another printer. So, how do I pay my bills? I don't have a lot of bills. I live with a family member, and I don't have to pay rent. I should be paying rent, but I don't always. So, I pay when I can. But I pay my car insurance and my phone bill, and that's about it. I'm kind of living on bare minimum. I'm definitely low income. My family is helps me out. Yeah, they're kind of expensive. The good ones the really nice ones are super expensive, but I buy like Chinese ones. They're basically knockoff 3D printers, and they work honestly fine. He counts in bar top sales. That is correct. I used to have people that actually donated on PayPal every month. They would send me money, but PayPal got rid of the functionality, which kind of sucked because I was like, it wasn't a lot. I was only getting maybe 20 or $30 a month, but that was enough to pay for like gas money and coffee and stuff like that. But now PayPal got rid of that, and I've tried to do Patreon and a few other things like that where people could basically support me every month, but it never works out that well because it's a job in itself where I'd have to create content just for my patrons, and I don't really know what I could create for them that would make the subscription worth their while, so I don't do that. Alright, I'm getting better at these connectors, I will say. Yeah, that's for sure, but I don't really know how to monetize what I do other than making these and selling them. I haven't figured out a way. Although my Instagram, I can now monetize reels on Instagram, but I don't really make a lot of reels. I don't know how to make reels that would do well. Oh, I did the wrong button. Um, oh well. I'm gonna use this. Let's use this on the start button anyway. I kind of had the same problem. I'm an artist, and I had the same problem where people are like, "You should be rich. You're such a good artist," and I'm like, "Eh, it doesn't work that way." Just because you're talented doesn't mean you automatically make a ton of money. Honestly, some of the most talented artists aren't even very good artists. They're just good business people. That's kind of what it takes to make money in this world. So, I'm kind of changing it up, I guess, by using a right angle connector with this little button. But it's like, it's fine. It's fine. I don't want to rewire. I meant to do the blue there. But I'm going to do the blue now. Here. Alright. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about this build or any of my other builds, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer as best I can. I'm trying to be more consistent, and instead of building like a different build every couple months, I'm trying to do the same builds over and over to try to be consistent. And I don't know, it's boring to build the same thing over and over, but it's more practical when you're trying to make money or run a business. Yeah, marketing is not a problem I have. It's more like making money is the problem I have. Because these things sell within an hour or two. I can post them online and they are sold like instantly, basically. So I just need to mass produce them to be successful. Because making them all myself is too time consuming and a lot of work. Yeah, that's good. Oh. Need another boot. Yeah, I try to overbuild things. SP95, I try to think of these things as being around for a long time, because if someone's going to spend what they spend on these, I want them to last. So I generally like overbuild things, make things stronger than they need to be. Use like, not always, but I try to use stainless steel with everything. So a lot of bolts are stainless steel, not all of them, because I can't always get stainless in every type of bolt that I need. But most of the bolts are stainless steel. And I use hex head. So it's sort of like an RC car. So they're strong, you know, like Phillips head or flathead or other types of bolts. They kind of get worn out after you pull them in and out a few times. But with hex heads, you can put them, you know, you can screw them and unscrew them hundreds of times before they, you know, before they get worn out. Oh yeah, I was working with a company to get injection molds made for one of my designs, and the partnership didn't work out. The guys were taking too long, and the pandemic wasn't helping, and I got kind of pissed off, and I basically told them off without telling them off, which wasn't great. It kind of sucked, but I didn't know what else to do at the time because I was getting real frustrated because they kept saying they were going to do stuff and then they wouldn't do it, and I felt like I was getting the runaround a little bit. So I just am back to doing everything by myself. I can't personally afford to get anything injection molded because we're talking like $60,000. Like to do a full set of parts for one of these bar tops, it'd be like $60,000 to $100,000, which is kind of like insane. I can barely afford to pay my insurance, my car insurance every month, so it's not gonna happen unless I get some kind of serious investor, which is not happening right now. I didn't tighten this button nut. I have a wrench for this, but it's not going to fit in here because of this USB board right here. It's sort of in the way. Oh yeah, man. I love hex stuff. So A lot of customers kind of complain because they don't have hex drivers, but you can buy a set of them on Amazon for fairly inexpensive, and they're honestly like the best thing for this type of stuff. This is a 2mm. I use like 2 and 3, probably a lot, 2.5. So I don't know. This doesn't have any bolts in it right now, but the front case does. So right here, the nice thing with this driver is you can put it at an angle and it still works. It's got a ball head. You just go like this. Really positive. It doesn't slip. Sorry, I can't, how do I say your name? I'm not going to try to say that. Watch 89. Sorry, I'm not currently taking orders. I'm working on these 2 orders right now. There's one behind me. This one's pretty much done. It needs to be painted, and decals need to be applied. And then this one is almost there. I'm just doing the wiring in the joystick, and I have a couple things to do with the light, the marquee on it, and the speakers, the sound system. But then this one will be just about done. And once these 2 are like 90% complete, I will be taking maybe one more order or another couple orders. It depends on how I'm feeling. But yeah, these are great. Alright, I don't feel like I'm done. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I'm gonna, Blackbird J, I'm gonna put this bolt back in and get back to wiring here. I just wanted to show you these hex drivers because they're amazing. And I also have ones that I can chuck in my drill. The bits that I chuck in my drill, and then I can just do this quicker. But it's better to do stuff by hand generally so you don't destroy it. Well, yeah, so when people complain about like companies making these mini consoles, they have to understand like the actual real world costs of not only molding something as big as even these bar tops, and then like the cost of all the materials, the parts, shipping. You know, if you got to think about shipping, like people are always like, why don't you make full-size arcades? And I'm like, how would I ship those? You got to think about that stuff. Like every part of manufacturing and bringing something to market has a cost, and the costs get out of control quickly. So that's why like the big game companies have been making basically toys, because like to make a real arcade machine, it's just not practical, really, from a business standpoint. I can do it because I'm an individual and I'm doing like sort of one-offs here and there, but like the amount of money, even if I was to mass produce these, I would still have to charge close to $1,000 to make profit, which is kind of crazy. A lot of people would be like, that's way too expensive. I could buy a full size. I get it all the time. People are like, I could buy a full size Astro City for that much. And I'm like, well, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. Like, these are not full size Astro Cities. They're one of a kind handmade things. Like, and even if I was mass producing them, if Sega were to make Astro City, full size Astro Cities again, they wouldn't be able to sell them for $1,000. They would cost like $10,000 easily, or maybe $5,000 or $6,000. They wouldn't be cheap. So when people complain about prices, they have to understand like the costs of bringing things like that to market. And most people don't understand that because they're, all right, my camera's turning off. They're used to buying things at Walmart and they expect everything to be under $100, which is just like not practical. I have not really been making arcade sticks. I was gonna sell these little ones, but the problem with selling smaller things, less detailed things in general, is like people expect to pay less, and the amount of work that's involved is still quite a bit. So for me, I'm making less money when I'm selling sort of like cheaper things, I guess. this one right here, with the computer and the screen and everything when it's finished and painted with the decals, I think it sold for 2,400. I think that's how much I sold it for. I don't remember exactly. It's not really, my prices are not set in stone. It's sort of like whatever customers are willing to pay at the time that I'm doing a pre-order. It's sort of like, I kind of do like a silent auction, I guess. So if I put something up for pre-order, people message me and they tell me what they would pay. And whoever has the highest offer basically gets the machine. So, but generally these go for thousands. So, most people are going to complain about that and be like, oh, that's too expensive. And they can get a real arcade machine for cheaper. And I say, go ahead, get a real arcade machine. That's not what these are. If I could compete with those prices, I mean, I certainly would, but I can't. So, I have to charge what I charge. Alright, I need a wire for this last button. We got one more button to go here. Yeah, SP95. I would be using OLEDs if I could. If they existed in 4.3 at this scale. This is an 8-inch screen in here. Can't really see. It's up here. I would use OLEDs 100%, but there's really not much. You can get some smaller OLEDs that are like 16:9 for phones or whatever. And then there's some iPad OLEDs, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. And then obviously OLED monitors and things, but they're all very expensive and hard to get. So, I mean, hopefully the technology gets cheaper and more common. But the 4.3 screen thing it's kind of hard to get any decent 4.3 screens that are brand new these days. The LCDs, I'm lucky to be able to get from China, but I feel like, you know, if the whole retro DIY emulation thing dies out, these LCD screens are going to be real hard to get. I need another wire here. Yeah, Blackbird J. I think the Mini ITX is the best thing right now for these builds. When people say they want other stuff, I'm like, yeah, that works, but I prefer I prefer using like a Windows PC because you're gonna have the most options in terms of emulators and performance and compatibility, I guess. Raspberry Pis are fine for older things, but still, like, Dreamcast doesn't run very well on Raspberry Pi. And honestly, Raspberry Pis are kind of crazy hard to get right now. They're very expensive. It's like way too expensive. Scalpers have kind of destroyed the market for anything computer related or video game related, I guess I should say. This is a thicker gauge that I'm going to use for this last button because it's what I have. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to try to catch up with some of these questions. That's right, TD. I try to explain to people that the value is not in the fact that you can play ROMs with a joystick, because there's way cheaper ways to do that. it's all about the final product and like the details and the basically it's like a model. It's like a working model of a bar top Astro City. So it's like if you want that sort of like authentic or more authentic sort of like Japanese arcade feel, then you would go with one of my builds where, I mean, if you just want to play ROMs, you know, you can do that with just about anything these days. So my builds are not practical for people who just want to play games. That's not what it's about. Yeah, you can't get Raspberry Pi 4s at retail right now. Retail prices. They're all overpriced. Even Raspberry Pi 3s. I actually have a few Raspberry Pi 3s, and I was thinking of selling them. Not at like a crazy markup, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a jerk about it. But I could definitely turn a little bit of a profit from them. But then I was like, maybe I should just keep them and use them in builds. I don't know. I have a lot of unused computer hardware that I can't really use right now because they're just not. It's not great for this build in particular that I'm working on. So I'm not sure what to do with a lot of it because it's kind of losing value as it sits here in storage. A Pi 4 on Amazon pre-built for like $200. That's way. That's too much money. That's still too much money. Rexaru00. What's your favorite arcade lever and buttons? I guess I like Sanwa. I like Sanwa the best. That's what I use in all these builds is Sanwa joystick. I would use Sanwa buttons. Sometimes they're harder to get, so I've been using Sumitsu. This joystick that I'm working on is Sumitsu buttons. 24mm screw type. These are the Sanwas that I have. So here's the Sanwa one. And then these ones in here with the white button nut, those are the Sumitsus. The color is almost identical. I don't have, the Sumitsus are all in there, but if you look at the color, to the naked eye, actually the Sanwas look a little smaller, don't they? Yeah, the button's a little smaller on the Sanwas. Sumitsus have bigger buttons. So maybe the Sumitsus are better. I don't know. I have little hands, so I don't really care. I've heard people say that the Sumitsus have better action than the Sanwas. I think the joysticks are more noticeable to me, like the different brand joysticks. Those I really can tell the difference when I'm playing like a fighting game or something. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hook up this last wire and then just solder it directly to my button PCB. SP95, some of the iPad screens are 4.3. I don't know if all of them are, but some of them actually are. I actually did order an iPad screen. It's not micro LED, it's LCD, but I did some tests with it and it looks good, but I don't know if it looks as good as it's worth. And the size is too big for these bar tops. I'd have to build a bigger bar top. Basically redesign the whole thing. The screen the screen size sort of dictates the design. So when people are like, just use this screen or just use that screen, I'm like, well, that changes the whole design. So I would have to redesign the whole system around the screen. Alright, so I'm going to just solder this one right to the board because I didn't account for this extra button. Now I'm trying to think. You know, I guess I could use. Yeah, I'm just gonna solder it. It is what it is. I've actually designed a stand for this build. There is a stand I've designed for it. It's just so big that it would be hard to 3D print. I'm not doing the Versus City anymore because I ran into the same issue where it's too big to print. The problem with these printers in general is like the sort of bigger you go with stuff, the more warping you get and the more you have failures while you're printing and the longer it takes. So say you're doing a print that takes 24 hours and it starts warping 15 hours in, you're screwed. And then you basically wasted that 15 hours and a bunch of filament. And even if it only warps a little bit, when it's done, you're gonna have to figure out how to work around the warping, which makes whatever you've printed sometimes basically unusable. So the base thing is kind of on hold. I've designed one for this, and basically I designed one for this and one for my MVS system, but it's the same issue that I run into when I'm printing big things. I get weird warping and it takes too long to print and it uses a lot of filament and there's a lot of problems with it. It's not really practical. So I'm just going to solder this here, and I'm not sure which pin I want to use because some of these I can't program as buttons. So I'm going to make sure that I pick the right one. I need to pull up a data sheet for these or grab another one and look at the underside of it. I don't think I have. Hold on, I'll be right back. Oh, you know what I just found that I forgot I had? I bought a reel of more of these right angle quick connects or quick disconnects, whatever you want to call them. And these ones are actually a lot nicer than the ones I've been using, and I forgot I had them. They're all attached on a reel, so like in a production environment, they would actually load this rail into a machine that automates the process. So I'm doing it manually right now, but like a machine would do this in a factory setting. So it would just be like, you know, it would be doing like, I don't know how many of these wires a minute, or how many of these connections a minute, probably ridiculous amount. I don't even know how to get this off the reel. I can't find the end of it. Oh, here it is. Oh, hey Belgium. TD from Belgium. What's up, man? What time is it in Belgium? Yeah, so these are actually quite a bit nicer. Yeah, these will actually crimp better than the ones I've been using. And I think they're shorter too. They are. They are indeed shorter. I'm getting sidetracked. I don't I have to pull up something on the computer to figure out which pins I can use on the Raspberry Pi Pico. I'm going to do a crimp with this connector and see how it comes out. Yeah, these will crimp better for sure. Let's see how that... Oh, yeah. Yeah, these crimp way better. Okay, so I'm going to be using these on the next one for sure. Can't really see that. Hold on, let me try to get this in the shot. Kind of disorientating. This is disorientating. How do I get sort of in the center? There it is. Yeah, those are way nicer. Sorry for the like constant zoom in and out. I have to set something on my camera to quickly zoom without rotating, or quickly zoom without rotating the focus ring. This is what I'm doing. Let's try this again. I'm going to show you the old connector is the shinier one. Sorry guys, I can't like orientate myself in front of the camera. Anyway, you get the idea. I forgot I had this reel. This is why it's good to inventory. Because I keep looking at this whenever I clean or organize, and I'm like, oh, I'll use that. I'll use it. I'll use it. I'll use it. And then I forget I have it. Well, now that I've done it on stream, I should be able to remember. Yeah, the stand for these, it would make them pretty big. They're already pretty big. Let me try to get, I'm going to zoom out here. Try to show you the size. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a real Astro City Mini. I'll be right back. Hold on, guys. You like making them crispy. So, alright guys, I'm back. So here's the Astro City Mini, the real one. Sega's. And then, let me grab the other system I have. Hold on. Here's the one that I've almost finished now. So you can see the scale. So to build a stand for it, it's like the stand would make it, ooh, I don't know. Hold on, let me try to get the camera in a better place. Let me get this I don't know why the camera's doing what it's doing right now. There it is. No, that's not gonna work. 1 second, guys. I'm trying to adjust this camera and it's not going too well. I have this kind of complicated setup. I apologize for the shakies. I need to get, you know, like getting decent camera equipment, it is expensive. But anyway, I'm gonna just hold the camera. There you go. So if I had a stand, it would be it'd be pretty tall. It'd be kind of awkward. I mean, if you had like a coffee table, like a low coffee table, that height would make sense. Look at how, the one thing I hated about Sega's is look how tall the joystick area is. It just does not look good. They did a good job on everything else. The speaker grill looks kind of bootleg. I don't have the grills in mine yet. Their marquee obviously doesn't look as nice as mine. They kind of messed up the whole marquee area in general, but it's tough at this scale. Also, they used, I don't know if people noticed, but their screen is tiny. It doesn't actually go to the outsides of the bezel. It's like, it's pretty tiny. And it's not even 4:3, I don't think. It's some weird aspect ratio, where mine is 4:3. Their joystick's decent. It's a little spongy and kind of crap. These buttons are good. These aren't bad. I wish I could order these buttons somewhere. I think they're custom made just for this. Alright, so my camera, I'm going to put it back to where it was because it doesn't really like being here. Try to do this without. I guess it's like right here. Yeah? Alright. Yeah, this camera, you can see my camera now on the webcam. I have this ancient microphone stand I use to hold my big camera up here, and it's not great. It's from like the 40s or the 50s or something. It's maybe not that old, maybe 60s, but it's funky. Let me focus this. It's better. I don't really so for mine, when I do a stand for mine, I don't think I'm gonna do this sort of same latch mechanism. I think I'm just gonna design it so it just sits, maybe with magnets or something, because this thing is heavy. These things are heavy. They're not light. People are always like, are they light? Are they gonna bounce around when you're playing? And I'm like, you know, with a computer inside of there, this is not light. And I put rubber feet on the bottom, like soft rubber feet. There's 4 that go on the underside of the case. Then there's 4 that go on the underside of the joystick. So with all those, it's a lot of rubber feet, but with all those together, this thing stays pretty stationary. I mean, even right now, I'm holding it down with my right hand because it would move around a bit, but everything's pretty robust. It's not a toy. Alright, thanks TD for watching. I'm gonna try to catch up on the comments now. Yeah, Jefferson SA. Thank you. I'm trying to get into more of a regular streaming schedule, because I get a lot of people asking questions about sort of the same thing over and over, and I feel like doing a live stream is a good way to sort of do a Q&A at the same time while I work, and so people can see that I'm actually making these things and that I don't just like order them from China and put them together. Like, I do actually scratch build these. It's a real thing. Yeah, that Sega's Astro Mini it's definitely lazy. They did some parts right, but then of course Taito came along and they totally hit it out of the park with the rotating screen. Sega must have been embarrassed after that. And honestly, the Astro City Mini's it's a little too small. I think Taito's is a better size. It's slightly bigger, I believe. Jefferson SA. Yeah, I will be selling more of these eventually. The Astro City design is kind of my most popular design. The handhelds are popular, but I wasn't really happy with the way that those were coming together, and I didn't like the resin printer for printing the cases. Resin prints are kind of brittle, so I kind of switched gears back to the arcades, and people really like the Astro City, so I'm focusing on that now. Yeah, the Taito screen's pretty cool. I wanna buy one of those eventually so I can study how they do it. I'm just using magnets in mine and a latch. I think at this scale it'd be harder to do that same mechanism, and I'm kind of limited by the computer hardware inside. So the back of the screen, there's maybe only like an inch between the back of the screen and the computer, or the fan on the computer. So the whole mechanism that Taito is using in theirs, it might be problematic. I mean, this works. The magnet thing works, and the latches work. And the nice part is that I can access the interior very easily. So, I mean, those magnets are holding the left side right now. So, like, I can basically let go of this, and it goes right in place. And then to latch it, I go like this, and now it's where it needs to be. And then rotate. You know, it's not as sexy as Taito's, but I mean, in about the same time, you can do the same thing that the Taito one does, without the fancy rotation mechanism. I actually came up with this sort of magnet design on the first Mini that I made, the first Astro Mini. I don't have one, I've sold them. But the original Astro Mini I made before Sega made their Astro Mini, that had the magnets. Yeah, I'd have to mount a smaller computer. I think with a Raspberry Pi I could get away with using the same kind of mechanism that the Taito uses. But for a full computer build like what's in here, I couldn't do it. And I'm not even sure. The hard part, I think, for any rotation mechanism is how do you deal with the wires. So the screen needs a video wire, wires for the video signal, and then wires for the power. And in my case, I'm using micro USB to power the screen and HDMI for the video. And you know, it's a pretty slim HDMI cable. But still, it's kind of an issue that you can run into where, like, how do you rotate this without screwing up the wire and having the wire get fouled up by something. That's why I put this grill here. The grill is here so the HDMI doesn't get caught in the fan blades. I don't expect people to be rotating this all the time. There aren't too many vertical shooter fans. They're not that common. Alright, Blackbeard Jay, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to be trying to do more streams, so I'm going to try to do it like maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe twice a week, I have no idea. Yeah, SB95, the magnets work out. And people are like, what about the screen? And I'm like, magnets only affect CRTs, they don't affect LCDs. Yeah, the mechanism takes up the whole space. Yeah, I would imagine. And you need a pretty strong spring. Springs are hard to come by. So, like, I was working on a spring mechanism for, what was I? Trying to make my own joystick. And the spring, so there's a pretty custom sized spring inside every arcade joystick. So when I was designing my own joystick, the hardest part was the spring. Because to get a spring just the right size and diameter, and I don't know, spring engineering is complicated. So I ordered all these springs and none of them worked that well. And I had to cut some of them, but when you cut a spring, it doesn't really work as well as it did because of the way they're designed. So it was kind of a nightmare. So I imagine for the screen mechanism, I would have to find some kind of spring that worked with it, and they're not easy to come by. I mean, I could hire a company to custom make me springs, but that sounds expensive. So to develop that kind of mechanism at this scale, I think it would be a little bit harder. Where at the scale of the Taito Mini, you need less force to push that whole mechanism out because the screen is way smaller. Like this screen mechanism is it's not super heavy, but it's about, not quite a pound, maybe it's about a pound. It's not crazy, but you know, the spring would have to be able to push it out enough, and then to rotate, and then push back in. So there's, yeah, the engineering of it would be pretty hard. It would be difficult. The magnets are easier for sure. Yeah. Yeah, the spring yeah, it's funny with springs, it's like all the springs I ordered, they're either way too strong or like stiff. I don't know what how you describe springs, or too soft. So to get just the right spring for whatever your design is, so the spring has to be strong enough that it's going to push the whole thing out, but not too crazy strong, because then it could be like kind of violent, you know? And then if it was too strong, then you'd have a hard time pushing it back in. So there's like a balance there. And I'm sure the guys who designed the Taito system, I'm sure that was the spring hole rotation mechanism was probably the hardest part of the whole design, engineering wise. Um, where everything else is just straightforward, you know, you just design it visually and you put some screws and stuff and then it works. But that whole screen rotation mechanism, that is definitely like what sets the bar on that build in terms of like engineering. It gets pretty warm in there, Jefferson, but um, you know, as long as you're not like, if you, I guess I've left the other one behind me running for a few hours on a game menu just to do like a thermal test, and the fans will speed up quite a bit. It gets fairly loud trying to stay cool, but I haven't had it overheat. I mean, it's warm in there. You can feel it. Like the case gets warm. It's not hot. Like it's not gonna melt the thing, but it does get warm. It's a computer, so it gets warm. Obviously, if you're gonna overclock it, you couldn't do that in this case. You can't overclock this. This There's just not enough. I don't know if you can see. I'll show you on camera if I can. But on the bottom, drop that screen. There are. Whoop. I'm gonna break this thing. There's a lot of vents. They're pretty big vents. So all on the bottom are vents, and then this has feet, rubber feet. So there's a big sort of gap underneath the system, and so the air is getting pulled in through these vents. Um, you know, across the motherboard, the power supply, and then the Noctua fan in the back is hooked up to one of the computer case headers on the motherboard. So when the whole system is heating up, that fan on the back speeds up. So, you know, it regulates the temperature in here, and it works. It's not ideal. This isn't the coolest case in the world, but it's compact, so it's expected that it's going to run hotter than like a full-size PC case. That's just how it is. So you're not going to overclock this. And obviously, if there was a GPU in here, which it won't fit, a GPU wouldn't fit. But if there was a GPU in here, it would get too hot for sure. It would probably overheat and crash or whatever. But so far, I haven't had it crash or overheat. It does get warm. The fans speed up, but it works. Modern PCs are a lot more power efficient than older PCs, that's for sure. I mean, I thought about putting another case fan in here. I'm kind of limited. So this fan here is not huge, but it's powerful. It's not a cheap computer fan. It's a Noctua. So that's about the nicest computer fan you can buy. And as long as you don't put the arcade system like right up against the wall, but you couldn't really anyway because the volume knob sticks out a bit. So as long as you got a good space back here, and it's not too hot. Like, you don't put this thing in an entertainment center or whatever, which I don't imagine anybody would. There's also vents up here. There's openings here where you would put your hands. There's a lot of places for air to get through here. It's not like a sealed case. Plus, around the screen there's air. So the screen, there's a pretty big gap around the screen. I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but there is a pretty big gap here all the way around. So air is getting through the face as well as underneath and all the other little spots. Yeah, Raspberry Pi is pretty low temperature. I mean, you can overclock a Raspberry Pi too, but in this case, a Raspberry Pi is fine as long as it has a heatsink. And I have a fan system that you can order for the Raspberry Pi that connects to the GPIO, and it gives you like a temperature controlled fan, but you have to program it. It's kind of stupid, but I mean, the Raspberry Pi is fine. You don't have to really overclock a Raspberry Pi if you're just like playing retro games. I mean, maybe for Dreamcast, but you're only going to gain like 5 frames a second when you overclock it. So it's kind of like overclocking a Raspberry Pi is kind of ridiculous, I think. It's possible, but it's not necessary. Alright, I'm gonna turn on my computer here. I have a computer off screen up above my workbench, and I'm gonna go online and reference the Raspberry Pi Pico. I guess it's called. Make sure that I'm soldering to the right pins. I don't have a Mr. FPGA to design around. A lot of people ask about it, but I kind of think that I think FPGAs are overrated. You can play more games with a computer and emulators, so it's kind of like you can spend all this money on FPGA, and yeah, the sound is better in some cases in some games, but like 90% of the people who are using FPGAs, if I did like a blind test with an emulator setup and an FPGA, they wouldn't know the difference. It's in their head that they know, oh, this is better, so it's better, but like in reality, it's like it's not that much better. Not enough for all the trouble you have to go to do an FPGA setup, and they've gotten kind of expensive. I think when they first came out, they were somewhat affordable, but the more that they've gotten hyped up, the sort of more the price has gone up. Plus, like, the chip shortage is not helping. So I'm gonna switch the input on my screen here, and am I on VJ? What am I on? Hold on. This does not work well. I'm trying to change my monitor here, and I don't remember what button it is to do the inputs. That's weird. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I have a pinout for the Pico, the Raspberry Pi Pico right here on this computer somewhere. I guess I could have pulled it up on the laptop too. Yeah, they really are. Jefferson, my favorite front end is attract mode. I used to use Hyperspin, but I never really knew how to use it very well. It's really complicated. You can do cooler stuff with it than attract mode, but at the end of the day, attract mode is easier to program or to customize, and it runs. The nice thing with my attract mode build is it runs on my Windows builds and my Raspberry Pi builds without a lot of modification. So I can kind of like work on the design of it for one system and then carry over that same set of assets and files without a lot of modification between the two. The emulator setup is different, obviously, but the actual sort of like mechanics of the front end itself are the same between the two systems. So it's not like a different program language. It uses the same for both. Oh, this computer is not going to be able to go online because I stole the Ethernet cable from my laptop. Now I should have a pinout on here for the Pico. I thought I did. I probably have one on my phone. Oh, there it is. Here it is. PDF. PDF. So what ones are usable? Because some of these pins are ground. I could do a test with like a voltmeter. So pin. What am I using right now? So one. Okay, I'm gonna count these pins. Something. Yeah, Rexio. I don't know if that's how I say your name. Rexio. Rex Zero. Yeah, this runs anything. This will run anything. Essentially. So you could play, yeah. You could play Taito on here. You could play Atomus Wave. Um, you know, Dreamcast, GameCube, Wii U if you wanted. I think it'll run Nintendo Switch, not very well without a GPU, but most arcade stuff it'll run. SP95, my experience with UV printed marquees. That's what I'm using on these. They're not super durable, but as long as you're not, this is the same. This is UV printed. So this is the control panel, but it's basically the same machine that's printing this, that's printing my marquee. So this side is the ink. So they do the color ink, and then they do the white on top. And like, if I really wanted, I could probably scratch this off with like a metal object. But I'm running my nail across it, and it's not scratching. So it's pretty durable. It's as durable as it needs to be. And since it's printed on the back of the acrylic, it's not like you're going to scratch the print. You're going to scratch the acrylic before you scratch the print, obviously. This defect on this one, this has got a defect on it here next to the joystick hole. That happened because I think they have to like allow the print to cool. I think there's some heat involved, so while it's still hot, they must have put it down on something and it like peeled off the print. But otherwise, I mean, I'm like picking at this with my fingernail. It's durable. You're not going to scratch that easily. You'd have to really try to scratch this or to damage the print. Alright, so back to counting pins. So I want to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pin 8 is ground, so that's why I had to count. So we don't want to use this first one here. We want to use... Oh, I see. Okay, so they're square. So the ground pins are square. So I'm going to put that there. This would be better to solder from the underside. But what I'm going to do is I'll hold it in place. and pull out a little bit right there, and then grab my iron. I don't know about the UV. I don't know about fading on the UV prints. I mean, fading happens because of light, usually, because of ultraviolet light. So sunlight. As long as you don't leave this bar top in direct sunlight. I mean, I take care with a lot of my retro gaming stuff and my video games in general to not leave them in like direct sunlight, like having curtains in my game room. I don't think it would be an issue. I can't see it fading a lot. Probably fades, I would imagine it would fade less than vinyl graphics because of the acrylic. So I think acrylic has some UV blocking properties usually. So the plastic itself being on top of the print, I'm bad at orientating. So the acrylic being on this side and the print being on this side, I think that it would be protected. The marquee is printed the same way. This is a test marquee. This is a test print, but it's the same process. You can see it's translucent. And they were coming, I had the guys who printed these do several tests. So there's 3 different sort of print thicknesses on this. There's left, middle, and then the right. And they sent me this to hold in front of a light to do a test. See how it's gonna light up. I got too much crap here. Let's try to get this on camera. You can kind of see. Camera doesn't like that brightness. But on this one, you can see the Astro City and the MGS, they light up pretty good. The green was kind of an issue. So the middle is actually, the middle print is what I ended up going with. And it's kind of hard to see because it's washed out on the camera because of the ISO. I could maybe change the ISO down. Can I change that? Where do I go? Way? Go down to like 100. Well, let's put it on auto, I guess. I'm not really a huge fan of that, but let's do auto. So, yeah, you can kind of see. So the other ones are a little transparent. They're too transparent. So you kind of want to balance between opaque and transparent to get like a good backlight setup. The black is real good though. There's no light coming through the black, which is ideal. Where when I was doing this with vinyl, I was having issues with the light bleeding through the vinyl. So I had to do several layers of vinyl, which is kind of crazy, because then you have to line up 3 layers of vinyl sticker, which doesn't work well. So the UV print here, you can see, so for these, they did not back with white. So it gets too transparent or too see-through. So the white actually helps give you like that nice uniform backlight. It came out pretty well. These came out really well, actually. So this is a test piece, so it's way too thick. I'm obviously not using this thickness. This is the thickness that I would be using for the top. And this one you can actually backlight if you wanted. It'd be kind of silly to backlight the joystick, but it is a thing you could do, I guess. DJ Dance Classic. What's up, DJ Dance Classic? Which Chinese handhelds? I don't know any of them. I have a tablet, a Chinese tablet that's sort of a gaming handheld, but not really. It kind of sucks. I bought it like 10 years ago now. But other than that, I don't have any other. I don't have any of the Chinese handhelds. Yeah, the opaque part with the white on the background, that's the best. This middle section. So when they sent me this sample, I did a test like I just showed you guys on camera, and that's the one I went with. I'm not going to show you guys the final one on camera because I'm trying to handle it as little as possible since it's going on one of these to a customer. And, you know, acrylic scratches, like, if you look at it the wrong way. So I'm trying to, like, you know. The print on this one got a little chipped in places, but that wasn't... I don't think that happened for me. That happened... Those guys had some issues with it chipping. But I think when the white layer is on there, it's actually protecting the color print. Because the white seems more durable than just the bare color on the acrylic. I mean, this is really the best. This is the best you're gonna get without doing like some kind of screen print. I think Sega originally used screen printing. I don't even think UV printing was a thing when the Astro City was built back in the 90s. I think they did screen printing, which would work, but it's very expensive to do screen printing. So this UV printing for these acrylic parts is really like the best we're gonna get for this. Alright, so that's all the buttons wired up. I think I'm gonna have to program. I might have to program this button, this extra wire I just added in. Not ideal, but it works. I guess we can plug this in and test it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything. When will it be available for sale? Jefferson, I don't know. When I was saying earlier, when I finish these two, these are already sold, the two that I'm working on. When I finish these, I will open up for another 1 or 2 pre-orders. Pay for building the next 2. I like doing 2 at a time. I don't really want to do more than that. I don't want to take more than that. So now that it's wired up, I'm going to attach this with some rubber feet and then hook it all up to the case and plug it into the computer and do a test. I might plug it into my computer right here at the desk. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this auto ISO. It makes the shot kind of dark. Yeah, testing time. I just gotta get some bolts to put this guy together. I don't know where those are. Maybe behind me? Maybe behind me. Yeah, I got some bolts here. Show you some bolts. So, yeah, and here I've got black. These are the non-stainless bolts I use, these black oxide. They have like a protective coating to keep them from rusting. And then the shiny ones are the stainless. I'm kind of running low on stainless, so I'll have to order some more soon. I have some more bins with these are M3 bolts. It's kind of the standard size I use. Jefferson, I don't really have a waiting list because I started making one through my website and there are a lot of people on that waiting list, but they were signing up mainly for the handhelds. So I was gonna make another list for these, but it's kind of complicated because then I have to make all these lists and keep track of. So I basically just tell people to stay tuned. And then, like I said, I post when these go for sale. I post it on my Instagram and my Facebook, and then people basically message me offers, and whoever has like the highest offer in the few hours after I've posted it, that is who gets the system. I usually try to like let it sit, like the sale post, so let it sit for like 12 hours before I, decide on who has the highest offer, or whoever comes up with the highest offer. So they go pretty quick, and I mean, I haven't had a problem selling them that way. So it sucks for some people because they might miss it because not everyone's online every day, all day. But I don't really like. I'm not organized enough to start doing lists and things like that and getting into that, because then I have to like, I don't want to like give people special treatment because they got on a list necessarily. I think it's better for people to just like first come first serve kind of, and it's worked that way. People get kind of mad about it, but then I'm like, I'm gonna make more, so you know eventually everyone who wants one will get one. That's the idea, but we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, queues are stressful. Yeah, I don't really like. I started, like I said, I started making a list through my website for my handhelds. Like if you go to my website, most people don't even know I have a website. It's not a .com. It's like through Wix. So it's like multi-game systems, wix.com or something like that. But I have a sign up on there. If you really want to get on some kind of list, there's a sign up there. But the sign up is mainly for, it was for my handhelds and for my MVS bar tops, which use the same size screen as this. I'm going to make more of the MVSs, but people really like the Astros, and I'm having fun making them, so I'll stick to making these until I get sick of them, and then I'll switch back to the MVSs. I don't know. Alright, so anyway, I gotta put some feet on this thing. Hold on, I'll be back. Here. A couple in here. I don't know where they are. I have more of these rubber feet. I don't know where they... I don't see many in this. There's a few. Not enough. I don't know where they are. I have too much stuff. Too much inventory. Oh, here's a couple. I also have a dust washer. So here's the rubber feet. Here's a dust washer. This is a custom dust washer I made. I'm probably gonna use, what size do I use here? I have another batch of these bolts that oh, these are bigger. What size is that? That's like an M4. Yeah, I don't have the right sizes in here. I might have to grab another bin. I got the feet. So we have 4 that we're going to use on the joystick. Ooh. These capture dirt or dust really easy, so this one's like lighter than the other. So I'll do 4 of them. 4 of them for the joystick, and then the main unit gets 4. So I don't have quite enough here, but I do have some bins with extra parts. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I gotta find. I don't know where. I usually under this desk is where all my electrical parts are, but I might have some bolts under here. Yeah, yeah. Here's this is the bolts that I need. I also have some 2.5 millimeter, which I'm not using for the joystick. I'll put those back there. I like how there's like a secondhand market for my builds. That's kind of interesting. I had another bar top that I built for somebody, and I think it's been sold twice already. And then one of my Astro Cities, the original ones, the bigger ones, have been, one of those got sold. I believe it got sold. Yeah, this is the size. So these are M3, 12 millimeter. That's what I like to use. I could probably get away with 8 millimeter in length. Alright, where's my driver? So I'm gonna put. No, I'll do this first. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, the auto ISO is kind of bothering me. I'm gonna switch it back. Hold on. My camera's getting pretty toasty. Ooh, washed out. 400 or 200, I think. 400 is pretty good. Yeah, let's do 400. Okay. No, that's too much. Let's go back down to 200. Yeah, it's tough photographing or videoing whites, because you end up getting everything dark. Alright, that's pretty good. I gotta eat supper pretty soon, guys, so I think I'm gonna put this together and do a quick test on my desk computer here, my workshop computer, to make sure that all the inputs are working. And then I'm gonna cut the stream. I'm gonna stop it and go eat dinner, because I'm kind of hungry. Yeah, I think there's still a market for my handheld, but it wasn't really the fact that there's a lot of competition. That's not what caused me to stop doing it. It was just I just wasn't happy with the build. I didn't really like the joystick, wasn't strong enough, because a lot of the stuff, I was using my resin printer for all that stuff, and resin's kind of brittle. So I was having issues with things breaking or just not being very durable. Where like these are made with plastic, melted plastic. So these are more like a manufactured thing. They're stronger. And it is more work to make these look nice. You can't really see on camera very well, but they have a lot of layer lines and they're kind of rough. But I just sand and paint everything and it is what it is. It's fine. But yeah, the resin prints for my handhelds, while they looked good and they came out nice and detailed, they just weren't durable. And I wanted to get those mass produced. That was one of the first things I was going to mass produce with this company I was working with. But they kind of dropped the ball on that. So then we switched gears and we were going to mass produce one of my bar tops, and they dropped the ball on that. And so they have all my design files. So somewhere out there is a Chinese company with a lot of my design files, and they've changed since then, the design files, but in theory they could still rip off my designs. I had them sign a couple contracts, NDAs I guess, but I don't know. Those only last for so long, so down the road you could see some copies of my designs on AliExpress, but I doubt it'll happen because I trust that those guys aren't going to be shady about it. The guys I was working with, I don't think they honestly just didn't have the time to work with me on these things. They kept saying they wanted to, but I kept getting the vibe like they weren't wanting to. Oh, I don't know what's happening here. Is this hitting something? We got this corner. It doesn't want to sit down. You can kind of see it's popped up. I have another handheld that I designed that I have never built, that a company in Taiwan, I was developing with them, and they were gonna have some people in China build it, maybe. But the pandemic is like really kind of screwed up. All the contacts that I was working with in Asia, they're sort of on hold because of the pandemic. Like, Asia's getting hit hard again, and I feel like they're, the supply chain and the costs of shipping and all this stuff has really screwed it up. Okay, so that's good. Here's my little dust washer. So I need a USB-C cable to test this. You're not allowed to say it, but you did. Yeah, I've heard that. Well, I understand why they're not reliable. I'm not going to hold it against the Chinese people or anything like that. I'm not one of those people that's going to hate on things made in China because they're Chinese. They have their reasons for not being reliable. And I think it's just a different business mindset in Asia in general, especially in China. So if you don't understand the culture and you don't respect them like they respect you, you're going to run into issues. So it's kind of complicated. There's like a language barrier too. But I was actually going to fly to China and visit the factory that was going to make my stuff. And it was a plan that was going to happen, and then the pandemic hit. So that kind of was like the beginning of the end of my partnership with these guys in China. So it kind of sucked. I can't fully blame them for it. I take some blame, and also the pandemic messed it up. So now I've just gone back to making everything myself. The guys, retromodding.com, they did the UV prints for me. They're in Canada, so it's a lot easier to deal with right now. Logistics of shipping between Canada and the US. China's kind of crazy still. I order stuff from China on AliExpress, and it takes like a month to get here, which is not really dependable when you're trying to run a business. So I have to order stuff kind of way in advance. Alright, I'm going to get a cable to hook this up. Do I have cables? I have the cables. I not have cables. Very short. This is one of the cables I use. They're pretty short. So it's USB-C to USB. Is this what I use in the case? Is there enough space? Let me see. This might not be the cable that I ended up sticking with. I order a lot of stuff online while I'm designing these things, and then I realize that something's not long enough. This might have been for... Yeah, this is definitely not for this. I think I have another cable that I use on the inside. Yeah, so I have like a... Oh, let me see. I know this is kind of craziness with USB, but I use these right angles because of the motherboard being sort of up against this wall here. But this will work. So I find a port that I can get to. Let's make sure that this is gonna work. Yeah, there's like a when I was working with the guys in China, I think there was I don't think they trusted me. They kept like they since they were gonna invest, they were gonna pay for a lot of the costs of production initially, and then obviously make a percentage off the profits. I think that they were really anxious about working with me, and they didn't really admit it at first. And then sort of the further we got in the project, the more they seemed like unsure about it, which made me unsure, which wasn't helping the relationship. So it kind of went to hell, and I got to the point where I was pissed at them, and I was like, look, I don't feel like you guys are taking me seriously. And they were like, we're not sure if like you're serious about this, and like they just got cold feet, and they didn't really want to admit it because they were being too proud about it, I guess. So that gave me cold feet, obviously. I don't know how to plug this in. This is a hassle. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera here, guys. Yeah, this is not the right cable. This is the wrong right angle. This is the problem when you order these right angle cables. So, yeah, it's the wrong one. I gotta get a different one. Where are the right angles? Here we go. Here's one. No, that's mini USB. I have too many of these wrong cables. Here's one. This is not a right angle. It'll work. Flippin' heck. Flippin' heck. Here we go. Here's another one. We got a few of these, actually. Oh, which ones are which? Both the wrong one. Yeah, I might have to use this one. This is not a right angle, but I should have enough depth. What's for dinner? I don't know what's for dinner. I have not figured that out yet. I'm gonna try to plug this in because I want to go eat. Yeah, it's tight in here. It'd be easier to plug these in before putting the motherboard in, but then I don't think the motherboard would fit. Are these all the wrong right angles? Sometimes when you're ordering these things on Amazon, they label them wrong. And then you get them and you realize they're the wrong thing. Or other times it's like literally you don't think about it. I don't think that you need the right angle. Or yeah, these aren't going to work. I thought I designed this so that these would plug in without using a right angle. Okay. Alright, so these are wrong, these are wrong. This is one of those things where I thought I ordered the right thing and I didn't. Where are the right angles? Right angle USB, where are you? Flippin' heck. Oh, here's one. No, that's not the right thing. Oh. I might not be able to do this. Here we go. I might not be able to do this, guys. I apologize. I might have to cut this short. Oh, I might have done it. This is it. This is the right cable. Yeah. I'm gonna do this. And then... Alright, I got it. There we go. There we go. Let's see if we can get that on camera. Not really. It's kind of dark. So there it is. Right angle. So then this will now hook up to this. There we go. So I gotta still put the rubber feet on this guy. So you can't see this on the camera, but there are, and I'll pull it out so you guys can see, but there are these guys. This is what holds the joystick to the system, these little thumb screws. Okay. So what's the easiest way to do this? Like that on its side. Right? No? I can't get this on camera, guys. I'm sorry. It's just, I can barely see it myself. Never mind the camera. So it's sort of a blind thing. I can feel the hole. I push the this guy through. There it is. And then thread it. Wires, motherboard. Can't really use magnets for this. It'd be fun. I had an idea to use magnets here, but not really. Come on. Not great. Alright, once I get that started, it goes a lot easier. Getting it started is the hard part. There we go. Falco voice. I might start selling just pre-built emulation systems, essentially, like people are selling. A Raspberry Pi with the power supply, the HDMI cable. Oh, that's tight. There we go. Get a little tighter. I don't know if the other thumb screw's in here. Where is the other thumb screw? So that first one's in. But then this guy can plug in, the joystick plugs in, like that. This gets tucked under here. Where is the other thumb screw? I ordered a bunch of these thumb screws, and I don't know where. I don't think I inventoried them yet, so they are not in storage yet. I'm gonna put the screen over here. I don't know where I put them. Where are you, thumb screws? Where are you? Thumb screws. Thumb screws. Oh, here's the rubber feet. Thumb screws. Here we go. Here's the thumb. Alright guys, sorry I'm coming back. here's the thumb screw. Let's put this second thumb screw in. This is not something people are going to be doing often. It's not like you're going to be pulling the joystick off of here. I should probably just glue the joysticks on, but part of me thinks that people might want to customize and use a different joystick down the road. So the idea was to make the joystick modular. So if someone wanted an 8-button joystick, I don't know how you'd fit that on here. You could, in theory, with this whole system. It doesn't work that well. But it's just a matter of cramped space. Once you get the thumb screw going, it's pretty easy. Super magnets? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, the magnets... I had started coming up with a magnet mechanism for one of these builds for the joystick, and it just... I can't... Alright, that's good. That's good. Let's put the... And the whole magnet thing, it just didn't seem like it was going to work. I would have kept developing it if I felt like it was a viable way to do it. Can I zoom this out? Yeah, there we go. Oh, wrong way. I'm gonna put... Oh, I found the rubber feet. But I don't think I have enough bolts right here. Oh, maybe I do. And I have some other sizes. Oh, I'm putting this through wrong. Trying to get it so I'm not blocking the camera's view. Oh, this is gonna want to be a jerk. There we go. There we go. You want to go on there. There you go. I don't go crazy when I'm tightening these. These rubber feet make all the difference with holding it in place. They're nice and grippy. They're for like cutting boards, I believe. I spent sort of a lot of time and money buying the wrong rubber feet before I stumbled upon these, and I hope the company that makes them does not stop, because they're great. So I could probably get away with only 2 back here, but I put some... Oh, these are the wrong size. That's why I used the bigger size. These are M4s up front. I designed something wrong on the file, so I ended up using a bigger threaded insert up here, which is annoying. So maybe I will only use... Yeah, I'm not going to do all of them. I'll do just those 2 back there, because that's enough to hold it. Okay, so we need an HDMI cable. How do we get an HDMI in there? Oh, we already have one on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to unhook the DisplayPort cable, because we are not running that right now. So we'll just put you somewhere out of the way, like this. I've been streaming for almost 2.5 hours. That's quite a long time. So I still need a power cable for the screen, which is just a micro USB. That's what I use. Hold on. Where are my micro USB? hot on the side. Another pen. Need more? Micro. Yeah, micro USBs. I have one for this. I thought I had one that I was using. Yeah, is that it? No, that's mini USB. Huh, where are my micro USB cables? I don't have them. I don't. Somehow I don't. Yeah, so I need a power cable for the screen, and I use micro USB. Although there are other ways to power the screen other than micro USB. I might not have one. I guess I can pull it out of the other computer that I built. I don't really want to. Alright, give me a couple more minutes, guys. There we go. Such a roundabout way of doing it. What do we got? That's not the right one. This, we got this. Not great. Not great. Gather. Weird. Kind of a weird way to do it. I guess I can. This is not great. USB-C to micro USB. Sure. I think there's a USB-C in here. Oh. Yeah, I don't have the right cable. This is the thing. Whenever I build these, I try to order all the parts I need ahead of time, but then I always forget something. And this is one of the things I forgot, I believe. And those two right angles are useless. Unless I power it with something else. I'm trying to think. I have powered it directly off a header on the motherboard, but that's not really a great idea. I don't really like doing that. I don't think this will fit. This is not going to fit in here. Maybe. Can I get that in there? I mean, I could just power the screen independently with the power supply outside of the case, just to test. This is literally just a test, but I don't really need to do all this right now. I'm like breaking this USB port. I'm gonna break that USB port. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use this. So I'm gonna just hook up the screen. Anyway. And then do a test with external power for the screen. My hands. I have small hands and this is still fiddly. There we go. Alright, screen HDMI is plugged in. And then we have any 5-volt power supply over here. That'll work to power the screen. So I'm going to plug in. Plug this guy in. So the screen will get some power. I guess I should, hold on. I'll remove this clamp. I have a wire clamp on the back side of the screen that I designed to hold these wires safely in place while they're plugged into the PCB. Oh, the screen's getting power. I'm not really sure I want that interfering with that. Do that. And then this goes through here, like that, and then like this. Okay. So screen is getting power. Screen has power. Let's do that again. Okay, alright, so that's lighting up. And now computer, let's make sure computer's all hooked up. Computer's all hooked up. So we're gonna have like a cable kind of running out the side here. Uh-oh. Wake up, camera. And then we got our power supply. Where's my power supply? Here's the power brick. Can't see the label on it because it's not printed in very bright ink. So I'm gonna plug you in back here. So this gets plugged into the back here. Hopefully this thing doesn't blow up. Alright, it's plugged in. Alright, we ready for liftoff? Is that getting power? Everything wired up correct? We will find out, I guess. See if it turns on. No? Going once, going twice. Oh, you know what? The power button's not wired up. The motherboard. Hold on. You have to jump the power pins. There it is. Okay. Computer is on. Yeah, this wire is going to be kind of coming out this side. So we're not getting a video signal? Oh, there it is. It is booting. Let me see if I can't get this on screen better. Yeah, my poor camera is overheating. There it is. It boots up quick. This does not look good on the stream, but trust me, the screen's not as dim as it looks. So it's not loading into attract mode automatically. It does on the other computer, but I have not set this one up to do that yet. We need a mouse. Also, I want to make sure that this is working. Where is my mouse? Here we go. Here's a mouse. Mousey mouse. Speakers aren't hooked up either, so we're not going to get any audio. Mouse is working. We got a lot of glare here. Hold on. Does that help? Oh, what light is giving me glare? This one? No. There we go. Screen, yeah, we got a screen. A little dim. I got to adjust it. I guess I want to check. Let's try not to knock this power supply down. Let's go into the control panel, devices. There it is, Raspberry Pi Pico. Okay, so that is hooked up. So let's test it. Properties. Let's do some testing. Yeah, I got to adjust the. Alright, so the joystick's hooked up wrong. That's not a big deal. These are all working. You can't really see that. Let me see if I can get this zoomed in. You guys can see what's going on here. Let's see if I can't focus this better. Camera's focus is tricky. Yeah, you can't really see because the screen is kind of dim. I have to adjust it, but yeah, you barely can see that. Hold on. Let me adjust the screen. Try to adjust the screen. There's a button board on the back here, but it's like kind of a nightmare. What is it? Maybe it's this potentiometer that I want to adjust. Hold on. The screen does have a potentiometer for the backlight. See if it makes a difference. I can never adjust this with a. You need like a flathead screwdriver, little tiny one. Here we go. Is this the right size? No. Oh, why don't they come adjusted from the factory? One of these screwdrivers should work. There it is. Okay, yeah, it's getting washed out now. No, it's literally just the brightness setting on the button board. And this is annoying to do. So, no. How do I go up and down? How do I go up and down? So that, and then I go up, no. Yeah, that, like that, and then I put the brightness up all the way. And let's adjust this potentiometer again. And not too bright. There. And there. Hard to get that adjusted right. Not the most vivid screen in the world. I think this one's even dimmer than the last one I put in. It isn't great. It may be. Is there not a backlight setting? Okay. Oh. It's better than it was. Still doesn't look great on camera. It does look better to the naked eye. It's also the viewing angle is not great, which isn't helping. So if I like better, it's impossible to videotape or to record LCD screens in general. They're all working though. That's good. That's good news. So those all work. It's just the joystick's wired wrong. I knew when I was putting the plug in before. I'm gonna turn this off because I'm not sure. The power button is not wired. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this. Turn it off. Are you turning off? There it is. Shut down. Alright, so I'm gonna unplug the power back here. Yep. This is why everything is modular and easy to take apart. So I have wired the joystick plug wrong. There is no way to sort of, with the JST plug that I use, you can't sort of have it only go in one way. That would be the smart way to do it. If I was to mass produce these, I'd have to make sure that that JST plug only went in one way, so the joystick could not be hooked up wrong. I need to drill out. The problem with the 3D printed holes is they are always the wrong diameter, because the 3D printer is just not that accurate. And it's better to have the hole too small than too big, generally. Probably, I've been recording this whole time. It's probably a huge video file on my computer. So, yeah, the joystick just needs to get swapped. So it goes from this, I think that's it. That should be it. Yeah, that should be it. It's hard to plug this thing in. This is tight down here. Like, need like mini fingers to build the mini arcade machines. I'm gonna get arthritis just from trying to plug this thing in. There we go. Okay. Alright, now before I button this up, I'm actually gonna power it up and make sure that it's working. I'm gonna plug my mains back in. Turn you back on. Of course, that's not going to power back on because I have to hit the pin. I need to really wire up that. I didn't think to wire up the power switch. That's kind of an important detail. Here it is. Alright. Yeah. Alright, yeah, it boots so quick. Alright, so let's go into devices and printers, Raspberry Pi, game control settings, properties. Make sure. There it is. Joystick's working now. Cool. Alright guys, I'm going to call it there. That went on longer than I thought it was going to go. That's how it goes. So joystick is all wired up. It's just a matter of, yeah, so my camera, the frame rate is not great. You can see this camera's good. That's got a good frame rate. Also, there's a wicked delay. It's because I'm not using a webcam for this camera up here, big camera. Eventually we'll get another camera or another webcam. But yeah, the joystick's all wired up. So I'm gonna do, I gotta wire up the power switch, the speakers, the marquee, put the light in, do all that. I'll probably set up another stream, maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow, and finish doing all that stuff on stream if I can. But thanks for tuning in. Glad that this is all working. Cool. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye for now.